Hey guys, welcome back. I know it's been quite a while since I uploaded a tutorial or any videos, so here we are. I hope to be uploading more frequently now, and let's move on to today's tutorial. Okay, and our topic is formation of the atrial septum. Okay. Septum. Okay, so let's begin. I already have my pictures ready. So this will be a short tutorial. I know this is quite an easy topic, but many of us, including me, tend to forget the nitty-gritty ideas about it. So let's quickly go through it. So initially, what happens is that the two chambers are communicating with each other. This is the right atrium and this is the left atrium, and these are communicating with each other, and this right here is the foramen primum. Foramen means gap, primum means first, that is the primary gap. Okay, and here on the bottom is the intercardial cushion, that is the dorsal intercardial cushion. Now our goal is to form a cushion, form a septum from here down there, so that it can all form in this manner and separate the two halves of the atrium. Okay, now here we see that the process has already begun. Now this right here is, as we can guess, is now the septum primum. Since it is a septum, right, and it is the first septum to form, so it is the septum primum. And now if you look closely on the bottom here, the foramen primum, which was this large, has now reduced in its size. Now then what happens is that septum primum itself regresses a little bit over here, and there is the formation of, this was the foramen primum, right, and now there is the formation of the foramen secundum, right. It is basically the second hole to form. This is the second hole, this is the first hole, right. That's it, that's all you need to know. Now the septum secundum allows the blood to flow through. Okay, let's just quickly get over this. It's quite fun doing this, so bear with me now. Now the lower portion has already fused with the intercardial cushion, so half of the job is done. Now the septum secundum, right, the blood will now flow from the right side of the heart to the left side of the heart. Now why is that? Well, it's simple. Since the right heart will pump the blood to the pulmonary vasculature, right, but since the child is not breathing in utero, right, since the child is not breathing in utero, the resistance in the pulmonary vasculature is very, very high resistance, which leads to high pressure. Now this means, normally we know that any kind of fluid will move from the state of higher pressure to a state of lesser pressure. So naturally, since the right atrium is at a higher pressure, the blood will move into the left side, which has a lower pressure, right? Now, after all this is done, what happens is there is formation of another one. So here we had the septum primum, right? Now we'll get a septum secundum to form from the right side of the septum primum. Okay, here is the septum secundum going right down, And we have our lovely septum primum right here. Let me just draw it really quick. There we go. And now you see that the septum secundum right here is starting to cover the entire septum itself. However, there is a small gap in there. Now, this gap is known as the fossa ovale. Okay, this is very important right now. Why? Now let's look at this picture right here. This is basically looking at the two atrium from the side. So right here we have the right atrium, and here we have the left atrium, right? And this is the interatrial septum. Now, since we are looking from the right side towards the left, we'll be primarily seeing the septum secundum, which is in pink color, right? Which would develop from the right side of the septum primum. And the hole in the septum secundum, from which we can actually see the septum primum, which is green, is basically fossa ovale. So we know that the base of the fossa ovale is basically formed from the septum primum. Now, this actually is really important. This is tied to a very key pathological concept, right? So we'll deal with that right now. So here we have the septum primum. Here we have the septum secundum, right? Now, the blood will start to flow from here. The blood will start to flow from here. Since it is in high pressure, it will push the septum primum and then move out to the left side from the right side, all right? And then the valve, it will just close back. So in this, we can see that this septum primum acts as a one-way valve. Okay, it can't go back all the way since septum secundum is right here in its way, but since the right atrium is pushing the blood towards the left atrium because of its higher pressure, it will give way just like this. Okay, but now what happens after birth is that when the child will take its first breath, if we look over here, the resistance in the pulmonary vasculature will significantly decrease. Therefore, there is decreased resistance, which means there is a decrease in pressure, right? So when there is decrease in pressure, now the blood from the left side will push towards the septum to move towards the right side, since now the left is higher and the right is lower. But we know that since it is a one-way valve, it can do so. So all the blood will push against the septum, ultimately fusing it, just like this. And whatever remains that we saw over here is the fossa ovale, which is this, right there, which we can see in the diagram over here. This is the fossa ovale. And thus we have formed the endocardial cushion. Sorry, we have formed the atrial septum. That's it. We just tend to confuse about the septum primum, secundum, foramen primum. Just remember, foramen is the hole and the septum is basically the curtains, right? So if you just go through it once, the concept is actually really simple. I hope you get it, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.